Hello and welcome back to Heart and Mind. I'm Dr. Dina McMillan, and wow, we've got an exciting topic today. And I was having a little bit of fun putting my slides together, as you can tell from the graphics. I thought I'd add the Pinocchio liar's nose plus liar, liar, pants on fire, if you're wondering what the picture is supposed to represent. Because today we're exposing society's big lies. I know I have a lot of new people. A lot of people have been contacting me, a lot more people watching me on the various networks. So, some of this information, if you've been watching all along, it may not be new to you, but the more you hear it, the more you learn it, the more deeply it embeds in your brain. I have promised you no more boring Tuesdays. We live stream every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and that's US time because I have an international audience. I have people watching from the East Coast of Australia, where it is 10 a.m. on Wednesday. I have people from the UK watching, my insomniac UK followers, where it's 1 o'clock in the morning. So, wherever you happen to be, Central Time, Mountain Time, Pacific Time, welcome to the show. And yes, I promise, no more boring Tuesdays. Now, if you miss an episode or you want to watch it again, or hopefully you want to show it to someone else, please feel free to go on Daily Clout, Rumble. I will be posting the episode on my X page, which is at Dr. Dina1. Or you can go on YouTube and find the recordings of the episodes so you don't have to miss any of it. Now, what is really important about this show, and the reason I take so much time to put images with the discussion, I could just talk to you about this stuff. It's definitely in my head. However, studies have found that we are more likely to remember information, whether it's spoken or written, if it's accompanied by a relevant image. That is the reason for the slides. Now, I am a social psychologist. Please understand what that means. We study power dynamics. We study how the brain works. We study learning, influence, persuasion, manipulation, coercion, indoctrination, and brainwashing. I'm taking all of that knowledge from the ivory tower of academia, from the journals that are purposely written with so much jargon so the average person doesn't understand what they're saying. I'm taking that knowledge and sharing it with you because my goal is to make the wider public manipulation proof. Now, speaking of being a manipulation proof, you all need to get this book. Go on Amazon, quickly go on Amazon and get a copy of the Pfizer papers. Dr. Naomi Wolf, Amy Kelly, and a whole host of highly qualified and brave experts went through the Pfizer documents so you don't have to. They gave so much information, but they wanted to keep it quiet. Pfizer actually went to court to try to keep it quiet for 75 years. And the court said no. So they just inundated everybody with so much information. They were hoping no one would weed through it and find the gems. Well, Dr. Wolf and her team found the gems. And you need to know because nothing that happened during the COVID era has stopped. No one's gone to jail. There's still many organizations and medical organizations are still recommending COVID shots, but a lot of people are still getting them. You need to know what's going on. So get your own copy of the Pfizer papers. Now let's move on to what we're doing today. I need trumpets. I really do. I'm going to have to figure out how to do some trumpets here. We are going to expose society's big lies. Now, this topic is based on conversations I've had in real life with various people in my life this last week, and also with someone who started following me on social media who said, you expose a lot of things that I didn't know, and I kind of don't want to know, but I know I need to know. Yes, it's a little bit uncomfortable. I won't lie to you. Unplugging from the matrix, where you're not part of the indoctrinated people in the country, in the world, is a little uncomfortable because most people are too afraid to do it. So they may come down on you and call you a conspiracy theorist or any other mean name. But you're going to be knowledgeable. It means you can see through their tactics. It means you get to decide with your family what your principles and values are, and not some unknown entity who decides what you should think and believe. So I hope you will all stay with me as we go through society's big lies. Ever wonder why your brain feels foggy even when you're eating clean and exercising? It may not be burnout, it could be parasites. Groundbreaking research from Dr. Alan MacDonald revealed a direct link between chronic parasitic infections and neurological diseases like multiple sclerosis. Parasites can cause inflammation, nerve damage, and long-term cognitive decline. More reason to do a full body cleanse at least once a year. The wellness company has a solution for you. Ivermectin plus menbendazole, the gold standard parasite solution, now combined in one cleanse combo, designed to eliminate harmful invaders and support your immune system naturally. Medical grade, not some trendy herbal gimmicks. Fill out a quick intake form and get a 3-month supply shipped straight to your door. Maha is officially here, and the wellness company is making hard to get medications digitally accessible so you can live your best life. Head to dailyclout.health and use the code dailyclout to save $60 off plus free shipping on all orders. Cleanse your body today. Now, if you've watched the show before, one of the things I tend to do is talk about a problem and then always end with a solution. I don't believe in discussing problems and just saying, oh, it's so sad. No. Anytime we discuss a problem, we discuss a solution. But today, the format's a little different. As we go through, I actually identified, now this isn't all of them, and please, wherever you're watching the show, sign in. And you can actually leave comments or ask questions and give your opinion. I easily found and identified 15 really big social lies that we keep being told. We get fed this in a variety of contexts. We're not just told outright. It's also woven into storytelling. So films, popular TV shows, books, songs, etc., news reports. Again and again and again and again. I'd identified 15, but instead of waiting until the end of the show to tell you what the solutions are, every time I identify a lie, I'm going to talk to you about the truth behind that. So we're going to actually just dispute it right away. Now, you may have even better opinions if you've got them. I'm more than happy to hear from you. So let's look at lie number 1. Diversity is our strength. Funny thing to dispute coming from me, right? Okay, but it's just not true. All cultures, all groups are not compatible. So having diversity where people do not share fundamental values, and religion is a fundamental value. Now we have some quieter immigrant groups who don't necessarily make quite a fuss as some of the others that are just as incompatible. They don't want their children to intermarry with us. Their cultural norms are incompatible with our beliefs. You got to be more careful because we're not necessarily compatible. And here's a truth B, 1B. Diversity interrupts social cohesion. So any group of people who live around each other, work around each other, go to school around each other will naturally interact. However, the more different they are from each other, the more that process is interrupted. And when they've done studies, they found diverse neighborhoods have lower trust among neighbors. They often don't know each other. They only socialize with people from the same background. They have fewer real friendships. I'm not talking about the superficial friendships where you say hi as you go about your day. I'm talking about when you're over at each other's houses, where you're sharing keys, where your kids play together and grow up together. You have fewer people getting involved in community activities because they don't feel as attached to the community, and less volunteering and less voting in these communities. Now, we can have a whole show on how to make diversity work. And if you want me to do a show on that, please tell me. Because you can have some measure of diversity and it's actually a positive, but it has to be done carefully or it just ends up being a hot mess. The American healthcare system is broken. Big pharma charges an arm and a leg for their products, while insurance companies are focused on growing healthcare spending. So I'm always researching ways to take care of myself naturally. And one of the most overlooked factors is improving your blood flow. That means more oxygen and nutrients to your brain, heart, and muscles, and even places that need a little extra help as you age. I use Blood Flow 7 from Juvenon. It works by boosting nitric oxide levels 230% and opening arteries up to 62% to improve blood flow. With just one dose a day, just 2 capsules with or without food, it's helped improve my stamina, energy, focus, and supports my heart health, all without caffeine or stimulants. It's doctor formulated, scientifically backed, with premium and natural ingredients. Look, I wouldn't share it if it didn't work for me. Go to www.bloodflow7.com/daily clout or click the link in the description below the video to learn more today. Well, back we go. Again, if you are watching this on any platform live, please sign in so you can leave comments, questions, add your own opinion to what we're talking about. Let's move on to lie number 2. Exposure to harmful content is mitigated by noticing and discussing. And this is something that I've been working with for years because by teaching people how to identify harmful content, how to identify attempts to manipulate and control, people think, okay, when I'm watching this content, if I notice this manipulation and I discuss it maybe with my partner, with my kids or whatever, it's all going to be fine. That's a little trick. They know better. The people trying to influence you know better because they know influence effectiveness is not eradicated by noticing, by judging, or by discussing it. Isn't that disheartening? No. Attention and acclaim. If you keep paying attention to something, if something gets attention, if something gets rewarded publicly, your brain, my brain, our brains will interpret it as important. And in many ways, here's what's even scarier, it will interpret it as true. Oh my God. Yes. So it's called the illusory truth effect, and you can look it up. Just screenshot it if you want to, or go back and look. It is an effect on our brain based on the fact that our survival mechanism, the way our brain is processes information, if we continue to see something, it won't necessarily see it as true, big T, but it'll see it as true for us. And we will act as though it's true for us. And that's where the danger lies. We've got to be so careful with all of this. If you're like me and you're getting to that age where your body just hurts all the time, then listen up. Don't reach for another painkiller until you learn about this little known turmeric hack for pain and inflammation. You've probably already heard about turmeric being used to fight inflammation and joint pain. But here's the thing, not all turmeric is created equal. Regular turmeric powder in your pantry might help a little, but a leading pain doctor from Connecticut discovered a special turmeric extract that is 200 times more powerful than what you'd find in standard turmeric. And when he shared this turmeric hack with his patients, the results were shocking. This turmeric extract attacks pain at the source, turning it off like a light switch so the pain not only goes away, but it stays away. Dr. Josh, the brains behind it all, has spent over 20 years helping hundreds of thousands of Americans finally break free from constant aches and stiffness. And his turmeric hack has been the backbone of their success. This is incredible stuff. Once I started taking it on a regular basis, I noticed a real difference. But again, you can't just take any old turmeric. So if you want to learn more about Dr. Josh, his turmeric hack, and the exact method for how to use it in your daily routine, just go to goldenrevive.com/Daily Clout. The link is right below this video in the description. Just click it and start your journey towards a healthier life. Now, I want to say something because a lot of people are still signing on, and I want to say two things. Number one, I'm about to bring my friend Melinda Richards on from Australia. She's in the Gold Coast in Queensland in Australia, where it is Wednesday, not Tuesday. And I have her on because we're good friends and she's a successful author. She has a large presence in social media and she always has good opinions. And in fact, some of these shows are directly inspired either by her suggesting something or us having a conversation. I also want to let everyone know this is a really important show. Bookmark it so you can come back and watch it again. These lies are so prevalent and so damaging, you really need to know about them. And you might look and say, well, 15, do we have enough time? Here's how it works. If we don't get through them all, don't worry about it. I will just continue the topic next week. I don't want you to hesitate to comment or ask a question or contribute your own because you think we're short on time. So, Melinda, welcome to the show.
Hi. I love this topic. Yay. It's my favorite.
Well, I'm noticing you're wearing a jacket, and it's because,
it's cold.
Yes, people don't realize not only is the land down under different time zones, it's different seasons. The seasons are exactly opposite. So right now it is winter in Australia. So,
yes, it's winter and it's actually raining today where I am too. So unfortunately, I've got the double whammy. But it's great for me because in this beautiful drizzling rain, I get to hang out with you at your show for right now. So I'm so happy.
Well, I loved living in Australia. They're one of our closest allies to the United States. I don't want Americans to forget about Australia because they could definitely use some help now. I don't want to get you in trouble, Melinda, but yes, they could definitely.
Well, you won't get me into trouble. I'm getting myself into lots of trouble by actually saying it nearly every day. And the interesting thing is about this particular topic that you were talking about. Every Aussie needs to watch this show. I'm gonna have to repost it and send it out there because I like to think that I'm kind of on the front foot with things. I like to think that I'm fairly awake and that I can pick up on some of these untruths floating out there. But this particular one that you've got in front of us, the first two, absolutely, I totally knew that. But it wasn't until I spoke to you about lie number 3 I grew up thinking this. I really grew up, and I even remember speaking to you about this because I was always listening to the words tolerance and what people do behind closed doors is absolutely fine. And you picked me up on this one very, very quickly, very rapidly. I'm really glad you added this in today because I actually did a 180 degree on this after we had a conversation.
Well, it was the data that changed my mind. It was the evidence. I
Yeah.
changed my mind on this. This is still one of the most prevalent lies out there. I hear this or read this almost every day from people. And a variation of this is I don't care how horrible, weird, depraved, wrong people live their lives, as long as it doesn't affect the kids. Now, I didn't have time to add that one, but I want you to know, first of all, everything we do in one area of our life affects every other area of our life, and it all affects children. Children model themselves off of adult behavior. So if you look at something and say, I don't want my kids to act like that, you need to take another look at whatever you're examining and judging, because you're picking up something about that is damaging or wrong. So the lie that whatever adults do in private is nobody's business and whatever is false. And people who are trying to damage society love that lie because it allows them to get away with just horrendous things. Now, truth number A, choices we make in our private life impact other important decisions. It was not compartmentalized. I mean, if you look at, let's take the Victorian era in England, okay? Sorry for all my UK insomniacs. I'm talking about England now, okay? And you look at the prevalence of prostitution and child pornography and child abuse and all of this crime that was going on, and you're like, the society was so conservative, but only on the surface. They had a norm that whatever men did was okay. So while they were paying lip service to not advocating for this wrong behavior, because they were allowed to give in to any inclination they felt, no matter how damaging and or exploitative it was, the underbelly of society was just so rancid, because what we do in private affects what we do everywhere. Now, I'm not saying everything we do. There are things that are private. An intimate relationship is supposed to be private. But if it's depraved, if it's exploitative, that mindset is going to impact both people outside of the bedroom. Also, another truth about this, we're all impacted by the choices made by the people around us. If you take any basic social psychology course, you can even take one online, you will find just extensive studies on how much we influence each other just by looking a certain way, dressing a certain way, making certain choices, having certain nonverbals. We're impacted by social norms that we bring in with us like a coat that also impacts the power structure. It impacts who we listen to, all of that. There is no separation. Another big lie that you have these compartments that just don't affect each other. No. And we can, as I said, this is another show that we can do. If you want to do another show about all of this, about how we're impacted by each other, I had to cut it a little short because I have so many. But if you see anything, put a comment on my X page, put it on Rumble, Daily Cloud, Getter, any place you're watching the show, either live or recorded, and we can do a show about it. We can talk about it more. I want you to really get this. I'm not making any of this up. One of the benefits of the enormous racism and sexism I faced at Stanford University, I was treated like a bald headed stepchild. It was bad. But what it meant is I had no wiggle room. So whenever I said something, did something, I had to have so much backup that I got used to not just giving an opinion or basing my beliefs off just one study. You should have seen how I prepared for my dissertation defense. I went in there with half the data already analyzed because I knew I was going to run into trouble because it was a non woke topic. My dissertation was on the non financial costs of being on welfare, and I compared the working poor to people on welfare, and the people on welfare were being really harmed. But one of my dissertation advisors, I even had to replace her because she said, "You're not supposed to look at that." No, I'm a social scientist. I look at everything. So, moving on, children just need love to grow up healthy. Yeah, right. No, 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 no. Children need affection, attention, discipline, and they need good, strong role models. So, no, just loving them isn't enough. And
I've got this opinion about this one too, Dina, with the children just need love, because I don't know how many people around the world are aware, but Australia is going through a youth crime crisis right now. And the really interesting thing about what's going on at a society level is that we don't get back down to what children really need. We're not getting back to the heart of the issue and why teenagers are going on rampages, why there's issues. I mean, a lot of it stemmed from that 2.5 year period where they didn't lead a normal life, were masked up and locked away. There's been some behavioural lines drawn with that particular period for many kids who aged between sort of 10 and 17 and 19 at the time. But also, when we talk about it as a society, and it's a massive problem down here right now, it is huge. We never ever talk about those things. We never talk about discipline. We never talk about parenting. We never talk about the respect. We never talk about the way that the children are raised and what's going on. We always talk about the government. We always talk about what the police should be doing. We talk about laws. We talk about locking them up. But we never ever go back and address this core lie that you're talking about now. And this is why it's really important, I think, for Aussies to sort of watch this set of lies that we seem to be embracing a lot more down here than many other countries in the world.
Well, I would say the US is having the same kind of youth crime crisis in urban areas. And the same problem, the lack of accountability, a lack of really good parenting, lack of fathers in the home. And here's something that people don't want to admit. Children with a married mom and dad do better than any other type of family structure. Yep, it's true. Look it up.
And I mean, the fact that that's even a controversial, it's the fact that we even feel like, even when we say that now, we live in this woke world of you can't even mention that because somehow that's offensive these days or something, but it's actually just a fact. It's just a matter of fact.
If facts offend you, that's not my problem. Repeat after me, audience. If facts and evidence offend you, that is not my problem. This is what you need to tell people when they get, oh, that's offensive. So what? The world isn't the way we want it to be. It works the way it works. Human nature is the way it is, which is why I tend to butt heads with some people who say things like peaceful, honest people have a right to be left alone. Well, how do you know they're peaceful and honest if you leave them alone? Okay, in order to have a society that works, you have to have balance. You have to have measures. There have to be rules. And everybody has to obey them. Now, here's lie number 5. We can tell if someone is trying to manipulate us. Now, this is a kind of semi-lie. Because when we go and buy a car or we see a politician trying to get us to vote for him or her, we often are wary. We have our guard up. We look at them kind of side-eye and say, oh, we don't think we can really trust them. But I think all of you audience members, well, not the long term audience members, my hard mind audience members are like so savvy. You got your cape in place, your superpower is getting stronger. But here's the truth, having studied this for more than 20 years, unless you've been trained and you're looking, you'll miss most of the influence mechanisms that are in your environment. Yikes. And one of the reasons you'll miss some of it is because sometimes we're influenced not by what is said or done, but by what is absent. And this is where you see the issue with a lot of Black women who seem to be acting very bizarrely. You see these fat, nasty looking women wearing scantily clad. I saw somebody in social media photograph a woman. She videotaped a woman getting on a plane with this. She was really obese with this really short dress that was cut up in the back and she had no underpants on. So her butt and everything was exposed. I don't know if they let her on the plane like that. But one of the things that happened that a lot of non-Blacks don't realize is that for a long time, you never saw a Black woman described as beautiful. And it had a really strong effect on Black women's confidence regarding our worthiness as women. So sometimes this is why the training helps. Because if you watch this show, I'll train you. You'll be able to see, you'll be like, okay, wait a minute. What aren't they putting in here? I noticed this absence. Dr. Dina talked about this on her show. But it's a really powerful mechanism. And sometimes if you read Dr. Jennifer Eberhardt's book, Bias, she talks about studies that they've done. She's a social psychologist also at Stanford. She's a professor there. They've done studies where they've just flashed images so fast that you can't register the picture, and it's actually impacted people's behavior. Now, if people are using subliminal influence mechanisms and priming like that, which we talked about a couple of episodes ago, how are you going to get it? You've got to be trained to figure it out. And even if you recognize manipulation, okay, if you weren't depressed already, grab your hanky, okay, grab some tissues, you're going to cry now. Even if you recognize that you've been manipulated, many of the tactics will still work on you. Flattery is one of them. If somebody flatters you, we are going to be more positively disposed towards them than if they didn't, even if we know that they're doing it to try to sell us something or get something from us or get us to like them. It still works. And now it may not work as much, but it still works. So that's why when I talk about these things, you'll notice I talk about the powerful tactic of your absence very often. Often the only tactic that will really protect you is to get away from something. Okay, let's talk about another one. Hot topic, hot topic. I need some sound effects. I'm going to ask my producer introduce some sound effects because here I need
Oh, you want a sound effect for this one? Oh, the sound effects for this one might be.
Okay. Pornography is not a big deal. Okay, as long as kids don't watch it. If you have time, get this book. It's been out there for a while now, but it's still the best, most accessible book I know of. It was written by an Australian woman, Melinda. It was edited by Melinda Tankard-Rice, who is an Australian, and Abigail Bray, who is, I believe, either British or American. It's an international book. So it's the English-speaking countries, everybody contributed, and they actually walk you through the damage that using pornography does on the adult brain, on adult relationships. It measurably alters your sexuality and your relationships. Linked to that, prostitution is a victimless crime. A lot of people believe this one. They think we can have another episode. And I saw somebody who, her name is Shamika. She did her last name, I'm not sure of her last name, Mitchell, I think. She did a recent episode on talking about how people use language. And when we Talk about pathocratic subversion of society. It mentions how you change the definitions of words in order to be able to manipulate people. Calling prostitution sex work they said it takes away the stigma. The stigma needs to be there because you are basically selling your soul to the devil. I have had clients when I was in the United States and doing a lot of consulting, individual and couples consulting. I had a lot of women who work in the prostitution and stripping industry come to me. And they were so wounded. They were so fragile. And it was interesting. There was a transformation. They came to me because they were having issues. And when they made the firm decision to get out of that life, all of a sudden, the barrier that allowed them to rationalize what they were doing just fell away, and all the pain just came pouring out. It is a horrible thing to do to someone. It is not victimless. And let's look at it in two ways. This crime starts with the exploitation of vulnerable individuals for sex. More than 90% of strippers and prostitutes were molested before the age of consent by an adult.
That's an incredible statistic. That's
Yes,
incredible, that stat.
male or female. So you're talking about people with a warped sexual map and love map based on unresolved trauma. And men who use prostitutes, it also alters them. They're more likely to commit domestic violence. They're more likely to excuse date rape. So dehumanizing enough another human being enough to use them as a sexual toilet changes how you see that group, and that group includes everyone in that group. So for men, it includes all women. All women then become more distant, become things, because most people don't want to see themselves as a bad person. So if you use prostitutes, you don't want to see yourself as a bad guy. So you tell yourself, well, I paid her, so payment for fake consent does not remove the damage to either side. So you don't like it? Too bad. Again, being offended by facts and evidence is not my problem. Okay? Look it up. We need to protect. This is why I like the Nordic model. The Nordic model for prostitution. Oh, by the way, I should also mention legalized prostitution is linked with an increase in human trafficking. So a lot of people say, oh, it's just a stigma, it's because it's illegal. No. Any society that has legalized prostitution has seen an exponential increase in human trafficking. Why? Because when people are for sale, when you have slavery, it impacts everybody. It's one of the biggest mistakes the Dutch make. Having those windows with women like things, to me, a lot of guys are like, ooh, yeah, because they feel naughty going through. That is like going to a slave auction and celebrating. If you think of a prostitute as a slave, whether that person is putting the money in their own bank account or not, you're just paying them to re-traumatize themselves, which makes you a bad person. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're now up to line number 8. As I said, any opinions you want to think about it, leave a comment. You can leave a comment now. I'm going to put this up there. This is hard. These are some harsh home truths here. Line number 8, acceptance of other cultures means you're a good person. No, it does not. It means you're weak and easily manipulated.
This is a really, really big one, because this is what's dividing the Western world up right now. The Western world is being pulled apart ideologically, and this topic is right at the core of the ideological battles and culture wars that the West is finding itself in. Nearly every country in the West is finding itself in this situation at the moment, and it starts with that lie because people want to be a good person, and when they think they're being a good person, they virtue signal. And this acceptance is then posted on social media and put up as a virtue signal, and it becomes addictive, and it spreads. It is, the virtue signal has now spread in the last decade like a disease throughout Western culture.
Well, it's been going on a lot longer than that. As you know, Melinda, I have lived in 5 countries. So
Yeah.
I went to high school in Germany because my dad was military. Then I moved back to the States, moved to New York, and then I decided to go back to Europe, so I moved to France. I've also lived in England, and I've lived in Australia. Now, in the United States, I've lived in 8 different states. So, yeah, I traveled around in a lot of different cultures. And when I went to give a workshop for the European Conference on Domestic Violence right before COVID hit in Norway, the young woman at one of the museums, they look at me, they see the Black woman, they figure I have a certain mindset. I get that a lot. And people get really kind of stroppy when they find out I don't think the way they think I should. But she's telling me how Norway is having such a problem with right-wing people. Now, they had one right-wing terrorist some years ago versus 50 events a year from Muslims, but they're being taught to ignore that
Yes,
and
that's right.
only look at people. And what is right wing anyway? It used to be neo Nazis and the Ku Klux Klan. Now, being right wing means you just do number 8. You say, wait a minute. If I'm going to accept you in my community, if I'm going to accept you in my family, in my country, let me stop a minute and think how it's going to impact the rest of us. And if I don't see it as a positive win, then you're not getting in here. We
Yeah,
need to have
it is such a huge issue right now. Obviously, mass immigration is a huge issue. And one of the reasons why they've been able to do it very, very successfully, and for all Western countries, is because of this absolute indoctrination and the buying in of that lie that you talk about. Buying in that if I show that I'm tolerant, if I show that I'm accepting of diversity, I'm a good person. And not only am I a great person, I'm going to tell the world I'm a great person without any understanding of the cultures that they're accepting. And that's the thing that really, I guess, gets under my skin, is because once they finally understand that, as you said earlier, not all the cultures are compatible. Once you actually understand that, it's too late, because you've been told that if you accept all of every person, every immigrant, every culture, then you're a good person. And that's the indoctrination. And
No, be
the opposite is
selfish.
true.
Be selfish. Think, how does this impact me and mine? You have been told not to do that by people who want to manipulate you. Ask yourself, how does this impact me and mine?
And
When
also
I
ask questions about history. I mean, I think that this if you want to blindly follow what you've been told to follow, then I've got a really big problem with that, because you're not asking questions, you're not doing the things that you do on your show every single week, is that you're showing people, you're putting up the mirror and saying, you've got to train yourself, you have to ask questions, you have to know and learn a little bit more. And yeah, it's hard work, but we're in a whole lot of trouble because we haven't been doing that. And we've been following these lies that you're putting up today.
And the reason I'm so vocal about it is not only because I think the word needs to get out. I do have the credentials to say what I'm saying. I do. I
You
can
do.
look through the science. I mean, I spent
Absolutely.
7 of my 9 years of university were spent learning how to not only conduct research and an analysis and statistical analyses, but also how to interpret what I read. Okay, so I'm bringing the science here and saying this is just not true. Think about
Yes.
how you and your family and your culture. I know that I got a permanent residency with Australia, and they should have done this to everybody. But because I was American, I was held to a higher standard than all the third world people that they have filling this country, totally cheating the welfare system, got
Yeah,
nothing good to say, not learning the language, have nothing good to say about Australia or Australians, are
absolutely.
just taking the money out and sending it back to whatever country they come from. I
You know,
had
the
a whole
interesting thing, the interesting thing about that comment is that when you were living in Australia and you had to follow those high standards, I am pretty sure and I know that you became a very productive member of society. It didn't
absolutely.
matter about your skin color or what culture you came from. At the end of the day, you spoke the language and you became a productive member of society and you formed relationships and made friends. That is very, very different from other people that come here. And that groups of people that come here will openly admit on camera, they openly admit that they pull down welfare from the second that they arrive here. And they also openly admit and mock Australians for allowing that to happen. And they think it's actually funny. And I've seen interviews where these people will sit there and, make fun of us because we're so stupid that we allow this mass immigration, and they just come in and pull thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And we also have a housing crisis here, and I'm pretty sure there's a housing crisis in other Western countries as well. And of course, priority, particularly in the UK and Australia, are given to immigrants who are non-residents, immigrants who are illegal, and they get places to live. Whereas we now have the highest rate of homelessness in our country's history. And the interesting thing is we still have people virtue signaling. We still have people following that lie and saying, oh,
Because
yes,
they're
but I'm just so
indoctrinated.
tolerant.
Well, you
Yes,
know what?
exactly.
We need to have an episode where I talk about how to chip away at the indoctrination, because it is a process. It's not something, it takes time. And any of us who have awakened, for me, my awakening came from going to graduate school. But for a lot of other people, it was a gradual process. And when you just
Yes,
keep seeing a huge contradiction between what you're being told and what you're seeing happen right in front of you.
absolutely.
So,
It's a lived
for
experience.
everybody
Absolutely.
here, stand up for your culture. If you are Western, stand up for Western culture. I know that when living in the UK, living in France, I learned to speak French. When you're living somewhere, living in the UK and Australia, I learned to drive on the other side of the road. Okay. Um, because I figured they should have a my house, my rules kind of attitude. Okay. I was in their house. So I have to adapt my ways to fit how they do things. Okay. They don't have to adapt to me. Right? If I need them to adapt to me, I need to go home. There are
Absolutely.
planes and boats going every day. Uh, so we need to have that attitude. Now, here's another one. Brace yourself, folks. You know I love you, but here we go. First of all, you also know I'm not a hypocrite. Many things, but not a hypocrite. Anything I tell you, I've tried it out on myself. You tell yourself you know whether you have biases for or against a group. We all tell ourselves, oh, I'm not this, and I don't have a bias towards this or against that, or eh. Guess what? Studies have revealed bias by filming participants interacting. What they did was they filmed people interacting with the people they said they didn't have a bias against, and then they had them watch themselves. And I
Oh,
think
wow.
the number on this is wrong, so I do apologize. Yeah. Sorry about the number. Ignore the number. I was moving them all around. Okay. But the studies have been done that when we watch ourselves on film, we can actually see things that we didn't even know we were doing. So a lot of bias shows, I'm not getting into the whole microaggression that has been weaponized. However, I will tell you this, living in all my different countries and traveling around, there is a difference in things like whether somebody looks at you and smiles, whether they have eye contact, whether they greet you with a good morning, whether they start a conversation. I would say in Australia, Queenslanders, where Melinda lives, is they're the most likely to just arbitrarily start a conversation with anybody. Some of the friendliest people I know. Um, in in the United States, one of my favorite states, Tennessee. All of my whole family has traveled to Tennessee. We found the same thing. Just some of the friendliest, nicest people. And don't get me started on Texas. I love me some Texans. Okay, but whether people close in physically, whether they look wary. And a lot of that has to do, I understand it's not because you're a bad person. I get the same images online that you do. I see all of these Black criminals, the violent crime rates. I see people are being attacked. So if you're wary of me because I'm Black, I'm not going to get mad at you. I'm getting mad at the other Black people that have put that image in your head. But please know, if you have a bias, it's very difficult for us to know what our biases are. Just keep that in mind. Okay, again, ignore the numbers right now because again, I was going back and forth. Okay, here's another lie. Violent terrorist attacks are caused by extremists. I still hear this from some very well-educated, informed people who should know better. Okay? Ooh, this is going to be uncomfortable. When 90+% of the violent terror attacks are by one group, from one group, we have to accept that it is not the exception, it is more the norm. And I'm telling you that as a Black woman. I'm looking at the violent crime rate in the United States in all the urban areas. I'm looking at the fact we're 13% of the population, 52% of the convicted murderers. There is a toxic undercurrent to Black American culture. I have put my hand up to help fix it, but I'm not going to lie, it's not there. We have the same thing with Islam. Islam is basically, you heard it here first, incompatible with Western culture. That is the problem. That doesn't mean that Muslim person that you know is not nice. I know when my dad died, there was a Muslim guy that owned the local grocery store, and I was in there and I forgot my wallet. And he said, "You're not usually like that. What's going on?" I said, "Oh, my dad just had a stroke. I'm so worried." He said, "Look, let's get you some groceries," and he wouldn't let me pay for anything. And I wasn't surprised because I'd been engaged to a Muslim when I was young, and I know that kind of family orientation, personal generosity is a very much a wonderful aspect of their culture. The fact that they think it's a shame on the culture if anybody starves. So everybody should have enough food. I think that's wonderful. But with regard to everything else, they are not compatible with us. And any Muslim or former Muslim who's being honest with you will tell you the same thing. It doesn't mean
I think a lot of them are openly coming out now and talking about their intentions, and a lot of them have been filmed and secretly filmed in mosques talking about how much they despise Western culture and despise the countries they actually live in. I mean, it's there, you can see it. And that's not saying everybody, of course. We know that when we make generalized statements, we don't include absolutely every person in that statement. It's like,
but it's more a norm.
We do need to open our eyes to the fact that there are things that they are saying, and they are coming and basically telling us specifically how they feel and what they think. And I just don't understand why there is a resistance to pick up on that honesty. They are nothing but very honest about their feelings.
Well, sometimes they're deceptive, like the mayor of London is very deceptive, but they have a norm, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, called taqiyya, which allows them to deceive people they perceive as the enemy. It's like the policy with police, where a police can actually say something that's not true to get a suspect to confess to a crime. They have a cultural norm that says you can pretend to be something you're not. If it gets you in a position of authority and power, their goal is to take over. Their goal is Sharia law. And
look, but they've been very open about. They're becoming more and more open about that. But the mayor of London is definitely an exception to what I just said. You're absolutely 100% right. He is a very, very dangerous individual indeed. He's just dangerous all around. I mean, we could have a whole show just talking about what he's done. But I think what they're saying to each other and the things that I'm seeing, they are definitely honest about what they intend to do, and they're honest about what they get when they come here. They, as I said earlier, they're laughing They're laughing at us, literally laughing. I've actually seen them laughing. They're very open as well in a lot of vox popping along the streets as to exactly what they intend to do, because I think now the numbers have grown so large that they feel now that it's time to, they're coming out now a lot more than they used to, being very, very open and honest about their intentions. And I just don't understand why people aren't paying attention to it very closely.
Because it's an inconvenient truth.
Well, there's the answer to that. That is the exact answer. Because, of course, your show today is about the lies and the indoctrination, and you don't want to be seen as and using language and weaponizing language like Islamophobia. I mean, that's designed to muzzle people. That's designed to
any kind of phobia claim is an attempt to muzzle people. Don't buy into it. If you look at something and say, I don't believe that's right, you have that right.
Yep.
When
Absolutely.
people, I have people that follow each other on social media, like, well, I don't like Black people. And I was like, okay.
It's like, good for you.
That's what freedom means. You don't have to like me.
Yeah.
You don't have to like Americans. You don't have to like tall people. You don't have to like people with shows. You don't have to like people with academic credentials. Whatever you pick up, okay? That is your right. I'm not going to try to convince you otherwise. But it's interesting. They still follow me. Let's see if I can make a little bit of an inroad. Now, here's another lie. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. This is written on the Statue of Liberty, of course. And we see this and are taught this, that this is the American way. Okay, here's a harsh truth. It was a quote on a statue. It's not a constitutional amendment. We are under no obligation to take in people who are going to drain us, cause problems, create criminal situations. We are under no obligation, okay? We can always give the statue back. We can put something, let's put a Trump statue there instead of the statue. I'm just kidding. Don't write me. No at me. I get all these acts. Oh, you're horrible. Okay. Another truth. Accepting everyone into your country is like accepting anyone into your family without scrutiny. It is suicidal empathy. I always give Gadsad the credit for this. He's got a book coming out soon where he's talking about how destructive it is to believe diversity is our strength if you don't share fundamental values. Here's something I would also add to that. You need to share fundamental values, and that means core beliefs about family structure, how you handle laws, how you do business. And here's something that Gad may not like. You have to be willing for your children to intermarry with another group. If you don't, if that's not there, if all of that's not there, including the last one, you're going to have problems, that some of which will be permanent. Okay.
Wow, you are really throwing out the uncomfortable truths today. They're everywhere.
I'm feeling bold today. Here's another one.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic.
The show's going to run a little long, but I don't care. Okay. Everyone deserves a second chance. No. Some acts expose fundamental flaws that are not fixable. I've had even knowledgeable people say, well, this person was only convicted once of this crime. Okay, or they've only done this. That's the time they were caught. Sometimes people will do something bad more than 20, 30 times before they're actually caught and held accountable. And some things are so bad. When you're talking about people who are pedophiles, when you're talking about murderers, pedophiles, horrible people, they do not deserve a second chance. They showed you who they are. This whole theme for this section here is, to quote Maya Angelou, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time, okay? These people are telling us who they are. They're showing us who they are. We have to believe it. Stop buying the lies. Okay, Melinda, this is yours. Love is love.
Boy. Whoa. This is just, at that dangerous, slippery slope that we've been treading in Western society, allowing the exploitation, indoctrination, and grooming of our children. I mean, this is so horrific for me. This whole section of our society that has become this untouchable group and sloganistic in terms of, oh, we're going to throw a few of these slogans out and that'll be, and once again, you know, the virtue signalers, if I don't tolerate it, if I don't say love is love, I'm not a good person.
I don't care if you
Really.
think I'm a good person. I want you to know I'm smart and I'm going to protect you. You don't have to like me, but you need to listen because I can protect you and help you protect yourself and your family. Okay, now with the whole love is love and all the slogans, misattribution, which is one of the tactics that I talk about in my domestic violence work, is just repackaging. You put an old, corrupt product in a shiny new package and you sell it like that. It's a manipulation tactic. Love is not love. Everything you call love is not love. Sometimes it's lust, sometimes it's depravity, sometimes it's exploitation, sometimes it's abuse, sometimes it's misuse. Okay, another truth about it. Who loves the slogans more than the pathocratic people? We've talked about this many times, the pathocratic subversion of society, which is a small pathological group who are doing everything they can to influence the rest of us to accept and celebrate the destruction of the fundamental values of our society. And one of the important tools that it uses is intentional distortion of meaning. And again, it's why I made a video that I'm going to turn it into a class so you have I'm going to turn a lot of this stuff. If you anything I talk about, if you want me to make an online class, 6 to 8 weeks, contact me because we can have a small group. It'll be very affordable. We'll do it at a time when people are available. But I'm looking at things like the distortion of meaning. I did a whole video on YouTube and I've taken it off because I'm turning it into a class called Why You're Not a Racist. And I looked at how the left keeps distorting the meanings of words to make people feel bad so they can manipulate them.
Yeah,
Do not
I mean,
vote.
the amount of names I get called, it's boring. You know, I get called racist and fascist, you know, or like once a week, they're one of my, I call them my regular haters. Oh yeah, but you're a racist, Melinda. But you're a racist. But it's like, but that's not even an argument. You calling me a name is not even countering whatever it is that I'm talking about at the time, whatever point that I'm trying to make. Which generally has nothing to do with race, by the way. But it's just really interesting because when you've got nothing, you throw these twisted meanings up because you don't have that fundamental ability as well to come back and put your case forward. And one of the worst examples of that I've seen in the last decade is this new acronym that this group tried to introduce and modify and make, and thank God that got batted out and batted away. But this MAP, minor attracted persons, remember that? And then I saw it everywhere for a couple of years. I was like, no. And first I didn't believe it. Honestly, I thought I didn't believe it. I just thought, no, I just know that this is not true. And then I saw it everywhere. And it was an attempt, the final attempt almost to normalize this kind of depravity. And I think, you know, really, I think that woke a lot of people up too. It was so,
well,
it was so bad.
We need to start pushing back. Now we only have 2 of them left, so let's go through them. So as I said, I don't know what my producer is going to do with the fact that the show is running long, but listen to this. Knowledge of manipulative tactics will protect you. Unfortunately, here's another uncomfortable truth, audience. All the stuff I'm teaching you is not going to help you unless you recognize it. You look to recognize it when you see it in real life, which is why I had the last episode. We took the manipulation, social manipulation. We took the mind control methods and we turned it into a game so that you would be more likely to recognize and remember the tactics when you see them in real life. And you have to use whatever shielding method that we talk about, including your absence. As I said, I was watching SVU. Anytime something woke comes on, I turn the episode off. A lot of shows I won't watch because first two episodes, woke casting, left wing promotion of hypersexuality and just all of this stuff that I just know not only is it not true, it's harmful. So I just don't watch it and I put a thumbs down. So I don't just not watch it. Tell I've even written to some of the streaming services and told them why I ended my subscription because I didn't like their content and this is what I didn't like.
Yeah.
We have to push back, people. We have to push back. Here is the last lie that I wanted to mention today. Intelligent people are harder to deceive. You think that's true? Go to Massachusetts with the most well-educated people in the United States and the most indoctrinated. There is no link between intelligence and ease of manipulation. Smart people are just as easy to manipulate as dumb people. The people doing the manipulating love it when people think they're too clever, too savvy, too smart to be
Yeah.
fooled.
Yeah.
I have
Absolutely.
to,
So
a whole section of my protective mechanisms, my unmasking the abuser prevention program for spot identifying and getting away from an abuser early. A whole section is on the category I call the people who are the challenge, because these people think they're too smart, too knowledgeable, too experienced, or whatever to be manipulated by an abuser, and they are easy prey because of it. So I have to teach them what to look for and what feelings to pay attention to in themselves that they would otherwise ignore. Manipulation effectiveness is based on saturation. How much are you exposed to it? It's why I keep telling you to turn this stuff off. Amazon knows I get Audible books, I get regular Amazon books. I will send a book back if it has woke content. I will if it's overly foul-mouthed and sexually explicit and they don't warn me ahead of time. I will send it back with a complaint, okay? I do not allow that stuff in my brain. The use of triggering tactics. So they use things like imagery or storytelling that evokes emotions or gets the primal drive. So desire, fear, anger, need to belong. If they trigger any of those, you are more likely to embed that information in the parts of your brain that makes your life choices, which means you've been influenced, if not indoctrinated. And having people in authority echo these sentiments. This is why the US government was paying billions of dollars to news organizations, to advertisers, to Hollywood producers all over the world, to universities. They were paying a university in Australia to promote woke beliefs. Because if you get a professor, somebody that's responsible for your grades, if you get the person telling the news, if you get, the person at the top of the tree saying, this is the truth, this is the fact, this is the way we're going to do things, all of us are more likely to follow. So they use all of that to get us to follow, and it has nothing to do with whether you're intelligent. You have to turn away, walk away. You have to be sort of Amish adjacent. Not necessarily, wearing the hat and no electricity, but you have to be willing to, what is it that they say? Move away from the English, step out from among the English. They said in that movie Witness, he said, come out, our beliefs say come out from among the English. We have to come out from among the woke. Don't pay money for woke content. Don't let it in your brain. Let's fight back. Fight back, fight back, fight back. And here's another problem. Intelligent people are often overconfident that their intelligence will protect them. So, any questions or comments? And Melinda, thank you for your input today. This has been wonderful. Now, if anybody wants to hire me,
yeah. Look, it's a great show.
This is an important episode, and you watch it more than once. If you want to hire me, if you work in any kind of HR department, you do training, My company is called Ethical Strategic Solutions, and I told you I was waiting for the website to go back up. It's up now. So if you go to ethicalstrategic.com, you can find me, you can find out what I offer, you can contact me. I work within a wide range of budgets. I always want to work with people. So, and I work in the USA, Australia, or the UK. Those are the countries I've lived in, understand the culture, and I continue to work there, and both online and in person. I have no problems with travel. So the flagship education and training programs, including my Unmasking the Abuser, which is my domestic abuse and violence prevention and improved response, Healing the Rift, which is a respectful anti-bias program, and gambling harm reduction. So thank you all for joining me. If you want to contact me, probably the easiest, fastest way to contact me is put a message to me on X. Follow me on X and send me a message. And again, my website, www.ethicalstrategic.com. And Melinda Richards, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, audience, for joining me. And even if you're watching this recorded, please get in touch. Tell me if this helped you, where it wasn't, anything you think I left out, contact me. And I will see you next Tuesday. No more boring Tuesdays. See you then. Bye-bye.